Today's July 17th, 2022. Thought I'd do a quick walk through the garden. Flowers have been blooming here at the front. It's been raining today, so I'm getting in between a couple of rains. I got some tomatoes planted along here, plus volunteers. Cats following me through. Been pulling out weeds and planting. Still got to get to that corner. Got cardboard laying here to clean it up, take the tape off and get it laid out there. Strawberries are still going crazy, clear out into the path. I've tore out quite a few. Some more flowers, some more weeds jumped up behind. Pole beans have finally taken off. I got some mushmelon, a few growing. Still cleaning. I've pulled a lot of weeds out of the bed. Not quite got the mulch all down yet. Still got to clean up the paths. Strawberries have made it clear across now. They'll have to be cleaned up pretty good. Loofah has taken off and doing 100. Matter of fact, it's coming down over here. Watermelons are taking off and growing well. I've not put on any watermelons yet, so they should be quite a few melons, pretty good size. Gonna have to dig out a tiny bit here to get some drainage, as well as a little more there. Beets I planted a second time. They've came up, so I've got no rabbits in the garden at the moment. I've been working over here on this patch. Watermelon volunteer coming up and coming through. So I got watermelon sitting on there. Tomatoes are still small, but they are taking off. I killed off a pole bean here, so the tomato could go ahead and grow. Volunteer gooseberry bush, I may just leave it here to grow up in the fence and see what happens. Squash, I dropped a little bit of fertilizer, natural bought chicken manure. I still haven't gotten my chicken coop built yet. Cabbage, doing very good. I'm going to have to start getting it picked and worked up. Nice size heads. Purple cabbage, smaller as usual. Another nice sized head. Zucchini has been growing. Here's a few more tomatoes that took off a little quicker. Onions need to be harvested. I'm waiting until after it rains so they can dry. I'm trying to keep them tied up. Need to get out here this evening if I can and tie them up some more. Another tomato falling over due to the size of the tomatoes. Marigolds growing. Flowers as usual growing in the most annoying places. I still never got them moved. Eggplants. There's some chicken manure. These are volunteers that came up. This is the second or third time they came up. Insects and stuff ate them the first time. Grew these indoors. I think I seen a bloom setting on the other day, so it won't be long. Tomatoes there. Cucumbers, I've replanted those. Irrigation system got shut off, so a lot of them got cooked in the 100-degree weather we had few weeks ago. Do have my first cucumber setting on there. Early plant that came up, volunteer. Radishes have reseeded themselves and are coming back up. One of my older cucumbers blooming, still very small. Young, well, there was young cucumbers planted along here growing. It looks as though they're all gone. Must have been eaten by something again. There is one that made it. Not a great year for cucumbers this year. Turmeric growing in a pot with some peanuts in it. They get planted by mice in my shed. They move them around. Few volunteer basils. Have not had many of those at all this year. They are just now coming up, many of them. Cherry tomatoes, still planting late. Still haven't got that one planted. Volunteer there. That I believe I planted in there. Volunteer cherry tomatoes in that cage, as well as many through here. Haven't got over here to weed. Probably just leave the tomatoes. Grapes are beginning to try and ripen. This is a seedless variety. Japanese beetles were on them. You can see the holes in the leaves through there. Concord down there. Pole beans are blooming. I've seen the first bean or two. Whoa, almost dropians. Setting on the other day, and there is one of them right there. So won't be too long. I'll be spending every evening picking beans. More grapes. This one will have to be pruned back a little. It was a volunteer that grew right down the side. So I put a board up. Had to fasten a little better and left it. Another Concord growing here, full of grapes. They'll be ripening soon. Mulch pile I got hauled in. More weeds to remove. More grapes up here ripening. This is actually two different kinds. I wonder sometimes. This was supposed to be a Thompson. It is not. It is the wrong color. Have got some volunteer tomatoes here growing. Put a pepper in the other day. It's doing quite well. More flowers. They're about done blooming. That started with one bulb I put in there. More weeds, more strawberries tear out. Have been getting a few bell peppers. Plants are almost to, well, they're over 2 feet tall, some of them, so it'll be nice to start cooking with some of those. I missed that one. It set on earlier and has changed colors already. This was all strawberry plants. I ripped all them out and have some small peppers in it. A few more strawberries and my black raspberry to still rip out. Got to get back here and weed. Everywhere needs weeded, especially back in here. We get just enough, often enough rain, small enough to get the weeds to grow very well. And have been trying to clean up back here. All these weeds have been cleaned out a few times. They just grow back super fast. My mulch pile and some cardboard laying on top to use. Ginger growing there. A volunteer tomatillo here. Volunteer tomatoes here. My old rare breed had a few volunteers come up, so I planted one there. Another's there. May plant another one or two in there. Blackberry, ever-bearing, or it'll be a double bearing, produces regular time and later. I have picked a few blackberries off of it already, through there and then there. And then I have more blackberries sitting on here and here, and quite fascinating, it is starting to bloom here. These were in pots to be planted somewhere, and their roots have gotten out, so they are starting to multiply. So I have to find a home for this, but I hate to disturb it due to it being so prolific. It looks like it may continue blooming and producing until fall. Potatoes are ready to be dug and possibly replanted. Some of my best tomato plants growing back here. May have to eat one of those. I was going to get one or two of those to somebody. One of those planted, and I didn't get it done. A couple more tomato plants I had given to me, a new variety. Wasn't sure what it was. Shed, jacked it up 4 inches, put some extra blocks under the front. Having a problem with the groundhog digging under it. If I don't get rid of him soon, he'll probably bring it down. So I gotta get that filled in and taken care of. I have been trying to set traps for him. It's getting quite difficult to catch this one. My dill, 1 plant, 2 plants, 3 plants, all that remains. Most of these have been harvested. Parsley, he devoured most of them plants. They did come back and seed a little. Cucamelons, of course, have taken over that spot. This is my rare tomato again blooming. So that is the walkthrough of the garden for July 17th, 2022. I think I caught most of the plants folians. Still have the pineapples growing. Metal grate does have fabric, landscaping cloth fabric, but while they do not sprout under the fabric and come up, they do sprout on top of the fabric and grow. So something to keep in mind when you're using landscaping fabric is that seeds do germinate on top of it.